Hello everyone and good afternoon. Hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. I will say I did see a leaf fall off a tree today, so I do think that fall is on its way in the good cool weather, so that's a good thing. Let me introduce myself if you haven't been in one of my other classes. My name is Alex Cooper. I teach the computer classes for the Columbia County Library in Evans, the Harlem Library, the Uchi Creek, now Grovetown Library, and very glad that you're here with me today. So hello Harlem, hello Grovetown, hello Columbia County, hello Georgia, and hello the world on YouTube. So hope you're having a great afternoon. Our class this afternoon is our 2019 Basics of Excel, okay? And I'll also will throw in a little bit of extra there. I learned a new trick, how to do some drop-down menus. So near the end, I'll kind of plug that in and talk about that too. So right now, our libraries are open, but we're not doing any kind of on-ground classes or anything, study rooms or anything like that. It's not available. Let's talk about some of our other classes because we're all doing our classes virtually. So I always start by how can I help? Okay. What questions do you have? How can I help? What problems have you had with Excel or our topic before in the past? Now I do recommend you come into the live class because then of course you can ask questions and stuff, and I will post our handout in the chat so you can download it as well. Okay. With classes like this, I kind of recommend you having me maybe on a separate device, and then you have me on the main computer so that you can, have the main computer open so you can kind of follow along with me. Of course, you can rewind and fast forward and stuff our videos after they've been recorded. So yesterday we did Microsoft Word 2019 version, basics, and we threw a little bit of extra stuff in there too for 2019 version. And earlier today, we did our Raspberry Pi computer projects, which went actually really well. We started working on our music making machine over here, and tomorrow we'll actually finish that project. We got our files converted and everything over to WAV files, and we got our wires all set up for our buttons. So there you go. Tomorrow we'll actually be doing our PowerPoint class, and in the morning we'll finish our Raspberry Pi project that we're working on, and so come join me there. Now, not next week, but the week after that, we'll be doing our photography basics class. We'll be off for a week. We'll be doing our photography basics class, photography fundamentals and cloud backup, advanced photo editing, and that is actually a class that we've actually done before, but we've actually going to be adding layers now. So definitely come for that. We'll be doing that. So basically it's like a new class, editing, photo editing, manipulation, all kinds of fun stuff. So we pushed our virtual scrapbooking to a new class, photography, printing, and virtual scrapbooking. And then on the 30th, we'll finish up with creating videos and editing basics using our Microsoft Photos app that comes free with Windows. Other classes kind of scattered in there. Our gadget help will be on the 23rd at 11 a.m. The 30th, we're doing a cord cutting at 11 a.m. And on the 24th, we're doing a chess class at 11 a.m. So please come join me for that. Our libraries are open with limited services and hours. Curbside holds pickup is available. You can go to gchrl.org for details, or you can call in the library with questions Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please give a like to our videos. Now, one of the things is, once we get our 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel, we can actually get our own YouTube address. But right now, it's a very, very long name, so the easiest way to find our YouTube channel is to search YouTube for GCHRL videos. But please subscribe. Excuse me. All right, so let's go ahead, go back here, and I'll come back for a moment, and let's go ahead and we'll get started. Okay, let me go ahead and post our handout. So give me a moment for that. Any questions before we get started? Like I said, one big thing about coming to the live classes, then of course you can ask me questions in the chat. Okay. All right. Okay, so here is our handout. In the chat, you can view it. And let's go ahead and get started. So, all right, so here's our handout. So we're doing basic Excel, and when stuff gets in the way, I'll kind of disappear. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to cover this afternoon. So our objectives, we'll talk about exactly what is Excel, okay? We'll start talking about using Excel with a new document and, of course, saving our document. We'll talk about the different cells. We'll talk about cell properties, changing format, size, and the color. We'll talk about merging and centering, using the fill handle, and freezing the first column. And I'll show you how you can freeze other columns as well. We'll talk about our basic formulas and create a simple budget. And then we'll create a really, really big table with kind of a more of a complex budget about how much profit did we make on selling candy bars for the week. Okay. And then we'll talk about printing. So a big one with the printing is, I usually get asked is when I try to print an Excel spreadsheet, why doesn't it have the lines on it? Well, we're going to talk about that, and I'll show you how you can get the lines on there. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'll disappear, and you should be able to still hear me talking. I'm still here. So let's talk about what is Excel. Okay. Excel is a spreadsheet program. Excel is great for keeping a budget. Okay. Maintaining a list of items and their properties. Yeah, that should be there. That's funny. Okay, I'll go ahead and fix that. Well, bam. Easy peasy. Maintaining a list of items and their properties. So, what is access? Now, I will tell you this. If you have the general student version or professional teacher student version is what they used to call it, because you could get a good discount on it. The 2019, it actually comes about of you needing to have the Excel, Word, and PowerPoint and like a few other ones, but usually that does not come with Access. That's more for the business plan of Office, okay? But I will still get asked, what exactly is Access? Okay. So Access is a database program. Access is basically so if you want to keep an inventory. The big thing people really like about Access is that you can set up a front end. So someone doesn't have to basically create or edit the database. It's basically something that they just fill out a bunch of forms, okay? And you can add graphics to it and stuff like that. So we're not going to cover that. Also, it's good for keeping track of like patients' records, like at a doctor's office or like at a vet or someplace. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's get starting with Excel. Now, a lot of times with Excel, we actually will not have it on our desktop. So let's kind of go about, there's several ways I have listed here to find it. The easiest way now is basically to go to the search in Windows, and it's not popping up in this window. There we are. So if I just type in Excel into our search, it'll pop right up for us, and then we can just click it and it'll open up the program. Okay. And then there's our program. So that's kind of the easiest way to find it. So let's talk about what we have. Well, the first thing we have is we actually have some templates that are in there. We'll talk about templates a little bit later, okay? But we want to go ahead and click where it says blank. So blank workbook. This will show the most recently used documents down here. And then we'll get a nice blank workbook, and I'll zoom in some too so it won't look too small later. So we click blank workbook, saving documents. Let's talk about saving our file. So we want to do file, click save, and then click browse. So file, save, and then click browse, which is one more step. Now today is, what is today? Today is the 9th. So we don't have to click on anything. Now realize that if it's since it's a Microsoft Office product, Microsoft products, it actually wants us to save into the documents folder. So let's go ahead, and we don't have to click there. We don't have to do anything like backspace. We can just start typing. Let's type class. Nine 2020. Okay. Now you can give more detail to this. That actually is the kind of the best idea. The more detail you can actually give to a file, the better it will be later when you're trying to search for something, because do remember, not only can this search down here search for programs, but it can search for files too. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and it's going to take us back to our main area here. And when we look at the very top, it should say class 9/9/2020. If I do go down to the search and I type in class, look, the first thing pops up right there, class 9/9/2020. Click there and it will open the program. So if I had closed my computer, reopened it, easy way to find my file, or like I just showed you in the most recent area. Now I'm actually going to zoom in because my resolution is a little high on my monitor. So we should get some big, lovely letters up here so we continue our discussion. Okay. Discussion about what? We're discussing Excel. All right, so let's talk about our cells. Each cell is like its own page. Okay. Now, how do we resize a cell? We basically take our mouse, and I will tell you this about Excel, there's a lot of hidden things that it doesn't really tell you how to do it, where to do it, and you do need to have some kind of training for it, just like the class that you're in right now, of course. So one of the examples of that basically is resizing the columns. There's not really a button that you click. There's a place that you hover, and then you do the drag and drop, and it will actually change the rows and column size. So let's go ahead and do that together. Now, first part of this class, we'll kind of play around a little bit. We'll kind of use this as our blank canvas to kind of type whatever we want, okay? And then later we'll work on our projects. So in the A1 cell, let's type hello. Now, one thing to know is if my sentence actually went further on into the next cell, if there's nothing in that cell, so if I keep typing, you'll see that it looks like this cell is now in the rest of the cells. It's actually not. The text is only in the A1 cell. If I click the B1 cell, you'll see it kind of erases, but it hasn't. It's still there, see? But I just can't see it because my cell isn't wide enough. So let's talk about that. And I'll erase my example here. Now, if you type something and you want to go back, you click on the cell once, and if you start typing, it's actually going to erase what's there. So do realize that. But if you do double click, that will bring up the blinking cursor, and then you won't erase what's there, and you can actually edit it. Okay, so let's talk about making our width longer. So let's take our mouse, and we have to hover in between the A and the B, and when we hover between the A and the B, it's going to look like a kind of skinny black cross with a wall in the middle. Skinny, well, an arrow, double arrow. The cross is later. Double arrow, left click, hold. I drag it to the right a little bit, and you'll see, boom, that allows me to move the whole section. What is this? What is A, B, C, D, and the rest of it? This is actually our columns, okay? The only real reason to know that is because later on, if you're dealing with any of the sections, that it'll call the up and down columns, and it'll call the left and right rows. So the A, the B, and the C are columns. 1, 2, 3 are rows. So how do I make my cell taller as well? Well, all I got to do is hover between the 1 and the 2, left click, hold, drag down, and then boom, it makes that cell bigger. Okay. Remember, you can do that on any of them. Do you realize the height only really affects this row, but as you see, the width will affect all the columns all the way down. Okay. Okay, so let's go to our next part. So we got our columns resized, we got our rows resized. Now there's a quick way to do it, and we'll talk more about that later. If you do like a little double click, it'll resize it to that size that you want it to be, okay? Well, the content is what it'll resize it to, excuse me. All right, so let's talk about our cell properties. So our cell properties kind of play into what Word does, okay? So in Word, we can change the font size, the font, make it larger or smaller, change our alignment. Well, we can do the same thing here with Excel. So let's do that. So under 1, 2, excuse me, in the A1 cell, let's just make sure that you have that cell selected. You don't have to go in and select the text like in Word. We go up here, and we can choose a different font. And we get a nice little preview by hovering over it. Always think about your reader. What kind of, feeling or theme are you trying to show by choosing an interesting font or a different kind of font? I might actually choose that one. That looks pretty neat. Now let's look down to the drop-down menu. Allows us to change our size, and if we hover, it'll actually give us a little bit of a preview of it. Oh, it's really big, dude. Too big, too big. Let's see. I think 18 should be plenty. Now our two buttons here, one is to increase the font size, the other one is to decrease the font size. So all you do is you just click it and you'll see that it just instantly changes it, okay? Oh no! Now of course we have our bold, kind of a slight bold. I will tell you this, if you accidentally, if you click bold or italics and it looks like nothing happened, the font may already be bolded or it may be italicized already. So do realize that can happen. Now we click bold, we can click italics, and if there's anything on here that you're not sure what it is, just take your mouse and hover and you'll see a little drop down will show you. Also with our menu, we actually have our different tabs. We'll be using a different tab in a little bit. So just kind of realize you click up here and that brings up different menus. Okay. And the one that we use the most is our Home tab. All right, so we have underline. Now, if you were in the Word class yesterday, you'll see that with Word we had a whole bunch of different underlines, didn't we? Well, Excel, we only get 2. Okay. Now what we do get is something different. We can actually give a border to the cell. So if you want that, you drop down the little arrow and you can actually give the cells their own border. May or may not be interested in that, but that's your option there. All right, so let's look at our other part here. It's called our fill color. Now it's similar to highlight that we talked about yesterday in Word. If I click it, it just kind of changes the background color. Okay. Now to change back, I could do the undo button, which the undo button is here on the top left. Okay. Click the undo, it'll take it back one step. Here we go. And if I do want to change the color, I can do the drop down and it actually will give me a little bit of a preview as well. Unless it's a special project, probably best not to use colors, and supposedly red and yellow make text difficult to read for someone that's colorblind, so it's best not to use those colors, but maybe a dark or very light blue. So in this situation I might use like a light green or a light yellow even maybe a light gray. Here we are, a little bit of a light gray. Makes it a little bit different, stand out. Now the next one is actually our font color, okay? So if we do our drop down here, we can get a preview of that. And one good thing to do is maybe choose the darkest blue, a dark orange, a dark yellow, different dark blue. Does those look any different? They're pretty close. But anyway, like a dark green. So if you're trying to want to use color, maybe choose a dark color version, I'll say that. Okay, now let's go ahead to our next part. Let's talk about our alignment, okay? Our alignment is right here. The basics are if we have it to be centered to the bottom, which is the default, okay? So we can see our text. Once we make it larger, we can see the text is hanging out at the bottom here. Now, if we do go into these settings, we can see that by default it's set to the bottom and to the left. So in Word, we actually have the left, middle, and right justification, okay? But also in Excel, we actually have the vertical alignment as well. So you have to kind of think about that. So how do you get it in the center? Or you just say center and center. So center and center right here. Oh, it just says middle. Okay. Now, other thing that you can do is you can actually change the orientation of the text if you need to. This could be for a project that you're trying to get it so the text, you know, maybe your sentence describing what that column is kind of long. Maybe go into the settings there and you can change the angle that the text is at. Maybe that'll work in your favor. And this is kind of like a button. You have to go in and click it again and it'll undo it. Okay. All right. So for our next part, we'll talk about that in just a second, the cell property. But we're going to pretend that hello is kind of like our heading. So we want to merge, we want to merge all those cells together and then center the word hello. So how do I do that? Well, first I must select all of the columns that I want to be merged. So I'm going to get right here in the middle and I'll get a fat white cross. I left click hold and I'm going to drag all the way to H. And now I have all those selected and I just let it go. Okay. Now I go up and I click where it says merge and center. And boom, it took it and now it's merged and centered. All in one click. Now, a lot of folks will say, the first time I tried to make, you know, a budget, I couldn't make a heading. And also another thing that'll throw people off is having the numbers over here. Remember, they can't actually see these numbers. If you want numbers, then you need to write the numbers in here. Okay? So now that's been merged and centered. Now this section here, we'll talk about this later. Our default is general property for the cell. Later on, we'll click here where it shows dollar signs. So when we're working with dollars, we'll click that and it'll actually switch over for us. Okay. Let's go back. Now let's talk about our fill handle. Okay. With the fill handle, we can create a sequence and Excel will continue it, like days of the week or months of the year. Okay, or numbers. So let's go ahead and let's try that now. I'm going to click the A2 cell and I'm actually going to pull this in a little bit so they're more uniform. A2 and I'm typing in Monday. Now, do you see there's like a little bit of a dot right here? If I hover over this little dot on the bottom right, it actually turns into like a skinny black cross, okay? If I left click hold that and I drag my mouse to the right, you'll see the word Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday will pop up. I'm going to get it to Sunday, and I let go and it actually will fill it in. Now, based on what we've learned so far, if something is kind of cut off, that just means we need to spread it out. So I'm going to go up here because Wednesday is the widest day of the week word. And if I go up here between the C and the D, left click hold, and I drag it to the right, that means it's going to get all the space it needs. Now, one of the things we can do, we talked about earlier, is doing a double click. So between A and B, I'm going to do double click, click, click. B and C, click, click. C and D, click, click. And it will actually resize the cells based on the content, okay, by doing a double click in that area. And that works with rows as well. Okay, see how they're really good looking and uniform now? All right, so we did that. How about months of the year? So get right on the fill handle, left click hold, drag to the right, February, March, April. There we go, all the way down to August. There you go. The magic fill handle. All right, now if I go and I do a number, so now in A4, and you always do the letter first, A4, I'm going to put in the number 4. No, excuse me, number 1. And then I'm going to drag my fill handle, and you'll see it actually fills in all the cells with the number 1. Okay? Play with that a little bit now. You'll kind of get the gist of it. So I'll put a 2 in here, 2, do the same thing, drag it all the way down, and then boom, I have a whole big row of number 2s. Okay? Now, how can we get it to continue a pattern, which you can do? So let's say I need a whole row of all even numbers. So I'm going to put a 2 in A6 and a 4 in B6. Now I have to have these 2 cells selected so the computer knows what I'm pointing at. So I need to get on 2 and get to the point where I get the fat white cross, left click hold. So I have both of those selected. Okay. Get right on the fill handle area. Left click hold, drag to the right, and you'll see it actually continues our pattern. There you go, which is even numbers. Now I won't go into it, but you can actually have it do any kind of pattern that you want, and you can actually have it do 3 or more things. So let's say you did different numbers here, selected it, dragged, it'll continue that. So it's more than just 2 cells or more than just 1 cell. The fill handle will, guess what the pattern is. But yeah, there you go. Let's talk about freezing our columns. Okay. Now we can use this to freeze a column, or we can use this to freeze a row. So for this example, I'm going to get it to freeze a row. So for whatever reason, I need the hello on here to be frozen, because when I scroll down, you'll see your list will disappear. Just like if you go to scroll to the right, your list will disappear as well. Okay. So how do I do that? Let's go to View, click our View tab, and go to where it says Freeze Panes, and it'll say Freeze top row and freeze first column. So let's do freeze top row. You'll see kind of a borderline shows up here, and when I scroll down, you'll see that the top row stays still. Now the biggest thing about that is let's say you have a really big long list that almost goes off the page. This will allow you to take care of that column and have it set up so that you can see everything that's listed. Now how do I undo that? I go back to freeze, And I basically, you'll see it says Unfreeze Panes, and you click that and it'll undo it. Okay, so let's see what our first column looks like if we freeze it. So freeze first column, we see the line, and we can go to the right. Now I won't go into it, but you can actually choose more than that. They call that the split. You can choose any row to freeze basically, and if you do start dealing with more than one sheet at a time, you can actually set it up so that it'll show, you know, more than one window at a time basically. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to hit the Home tab. I'll minimize this. And let's start talking about our basic formulas, and we're going to do our first simple budget. Okay. So our basic formulas come into this. This is a sheet that I made for many students to be able to have throughout the years. Just kind of explain this pretty easily. Let's start off with a very simple formula. Okay. So we have our mathematical equations. Sum is addition. Okay. So in normal math, we type in 2 plus 4 equals. Okay. But in Excel, they want us to do the equal sign first. So equals 2 plus 4. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to A7 and let's type in equals 2 plus 4. Now, what's going to happen is after we hit enter, it's going to take us down a row and it gives us the number, the answer, didn't it? Okay. So I can see it's a number 6 on there. Now, how can I go back and make changes to that math equation if I wanted to? I click on the cell, and then when we look at the very, very top up here, this is called the formula bar. It will actually show you whatever code is kind of hidden or whatever normal code you have. So if you click on like a normal code, okay, it'll show that too. But if you have a formula that's hidden, you click there and you can see it up here. Also, if you do a double click, it'll pop it up like you're editing it as well. Okay, but it's very easy to see it in the thing in case you need to make some kind of changes. All right, so let's talk about the way we have to type in Excel to get our equations to work. First one, of course, is the plus button, is our addition. All right, pretty self-explanatory. Yep. What about subtraction? Our minus sign. Yep, subtraction. You want to minus 4 minus 2. There you go. 4 equals 4 minus 2. What about division? Division gets a little bit trickier. Okay. Division is not a backslash, it's a forward slash. Okay. If you type in the backslash, it'll just come up with an error message. Now, this is one for myself that was hard to learn, and sometimes I will even put an X when doing something in Excel. Then I go, why isn't that working? Like, oh, I put an X instead of the star. It's kind of funny. You just have to kind of keep that in mind. It's a star instead of the X, and that's the star above the letter, above the number 8 on your keyboard. Okay. So addition, plus, subtraction, minus sign, division is a forward slash, and multiplication is the star that's above the number 8. Okay. Why is division and multiplication? Well, because we don't really have a division thing on the keyboard, and multiplication because X could be taken up by typing in the words. Okay. Or if you're dealing with some kind of math, it would say, you know, find the answer to X. Like, you want me to multiply? No, don't want you to multiply. So hopefully I've already answered the big question. Usually in class, when I have a whole bunch of people, they'll say, aha. So maybe they have tried to do Excel themselves and they go, aha, this is great. Like, okay, well, good. I'm glad. All right, now let's talk about us putting in, and basically instead of doing just math, we actually get the cells to interact. Okay, so let's pretend that A8 cell, A8 A8 cell had the number 1 in it, B8 has the number 2 in it, and C8 has the number 3 in it, okay? So instead of me actually typing the math like we did a minute ago, the numbers that are in the cell, I want it to interact, and if I do make a change to the cell, the number, then I just go and change the cell and it won't affect my answer at the end, okay? And by the time we finish class, this should make a whole lot more sense, and we'll have already made 2 budgets, okay? So how do I add these things together? Well, where I want the total to be, I could put a equals A8 plus B8 equals C8, and it'll give me the total of those 3. Now, once I actually type that in, it'll actually convert it and make it look like this with a colon in the middle, okay? It'll change it to saying sum. It'll put it in parentheses, and instead of it being A8 plus B8 plus C8, it'll say A8 colon C8. Why is that? Well, it can't use a dash. Like if you were saying someone's birthday, or year, 1978 to the year 2000 or something. Well, that wouldn't work, would it? Because that's a minus sign. The dash, the minus sign, the hyphen are all the same thing on our keyboard. So Excel has come up with making it a colon instead. So the colon means everything in between. So they want them to sum or add together A8, B8, and C8, see? So that's basically what the colon does. Now, let's talk about using mixed calculations. The big thing is to remember to put what you want calculated first in parentheses, okay? So first, we always need to do subtraction or addition first, and that's what we need to put in parentheses, okay? So we do equals, open parentheses, A8 plus B8, close parentheses, multiplied by C8, okay? Looking as clear as mud, I hope. It'll make a little more sense, and as we move along, we actually are doing our projects, okay? Just kind of remember that the addition and subtraction need to be done first, and that's located inside the parentheses you create, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead to our next page. Oh, excuse me. Let's talk about making our first simple budget, all right? So, and I should be able to do this. And where is it? Hold on, where is it? Okay. Duh on me. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're actually going to start a new sheet. Now, how do I do a new sheet? All we do is we go down here and we hit the plus sign, and a new sheet will pop up, number 2. Now, if you want to rename the sheet, all we do is we double click it and it allows us to rename it. If you right click on it, then you'll get the option to delete or make a copy of it, okay? And rename is there as well. So just kind of remember to right click and it'll give you a bunch of different options. So let's go ahead and let's make this simple budget. And I won't give away the code just yet. So I want to zoom in here. This is kind of the thing that people say, hey, I just want a simple little budget. And I go, okay, well, we can talk about that. So I click A1 and I'm just going to say monthly budget. Now, because I'm not going to put anything in B1, I don't have to worry about merging that at all. So money in. This is our food expense. fun, the fun expense, gas, and then total. Now, just because I write total on here doesn't mean that the computer is going to put the total there. It's just kind of for us, okay? So, how much money do we have coming in? Now, we're going to be dealing with the dollars. So we need to make sure that our cell, oh, it looks a little different. Don't let this throw you because I've gotten it so we can see two things at once. These things are still here. They're just little drop down menus right now, okay? All right, so B2 is money. If I type in 3,000, hit enter, it just registers it as 3,000, okay? That could be fine, but once you start working with, you know, change, or if you want it to multiply or divide or do any kind of math against whole numbers, that may not work out for you. So it's really best to make them dollars already. So I'm going to click the B2 cell, and where I was before, where I said general, and I said we're going to click the money sign, so I'm going to click dollars, and then boom, it already makes it dollars. I'm going to click B3 and type in 1,200, and I'll go up, click number, and say, oh, well, I have to, okay. Either when I'm first clicking, there you go. So if I click fun, I'm going to go ahead, click number, and say dollar. And then when I type in, it will actually auto change it for me to be the dollars. Here's gas is 600. Okay, now how do I get it to add it together? Now let's go back to our previous sheet. Now we have some numbers listed here. How do we get the numbers here at the end? Well, if I go up here and I actually click where it says Autosum, do you see that? I'll click Autosum. It will actually, I click the cell that said I6, and the cells that are near it, it'll automatically try to make that into the sum of it all together. So it's saying equals sum, open parentheses, A6 through H6. I hit enter, boom, there's my answer. Okay, so we're basically going to be doing that. So we click the B6 cell where we want it to go. We go up here, we click the auto sum, which looks like a funky kind of capital E. Click there. It does a little bit of a list here. It says, okay, do you want us to add B2 through, oh shoot, I'm sorry. We want it to subtract, don't we? Okay, so we actually want this to subtract from B2. Isn't that what we want? Yes, it is. I got off on the wrong track there. I'm sorry. Okay, let me resize this back to where we had it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's look at our answer a little bit here. So we set our dollars, okay? Now we want to use the formula to where it adds these together, okay? But then it subtracts it from B2, and then we have an answer. We want to make sure that that cell is also dollars. So if I go start typing here, so I want, and we always want to make sure that we have a smaller number subtracted from a larger number, or a larger number subtract a smaller number, just so that we don't get any negatives or anything like that. We're going to do minus, open parentheses, and you'll see it color coordinates everything. B3 plus B4 plus B5, and there's our close, and you'll see that it kind of color coordinates it as well. Okay, 3, 4, and 5, and then when I hit enter, boom, it gives us the total, or the end amount is 650. Okay. Did you get the right answer? Now to look back at it, I click the cell and it shows me in the formula bar that it's B2. It wants to add B3 plus B4 plus B5 and then subtract that from B2. That's right. And that's how we make it just a very simple little budget. Okay. Now let's look at the next thing that we're going to make, and we're going to use all our skills that we used and learned today. Okay. To create our candy bar table. Okay. So if we look at our table here, we have it where it's candy, our monthly day, our weekly days here. Then we have our total. It adds how many candy bars we sold. It also adds how during the day. It also includes how many that type we sold as well for the whole week. And then it gives us a grand total down here of 115. Okay. All right, now down here, let's go ahead and start with that. And instead of flipping back and forth, I think I'll try to do the same thing we were doing. I'm going to make a new sheet. The only thing is my menu is a little smaller at the top here. I don't want that to throw anybody off. Okay. Now I have to kind of scroll a little bit here. Maybe I can do this. All right. That might be a little bit better than just flipping back and forth. Okay, so to begin with, and I'll zoom out a little bit here. So to begin with, we actually have it where it says candy bars. Okay, so let's start off with that, and it goes all the way to H. Excuse me, to I. So if I click A1, I say candy bars. Now, I actually want this to be my heading. So I'm going to click the A1, left click hold, select all the way down to I. Now it's under alignment. So don't let this fool you. It's just they've squished it a little bit so that I can get it to this size. But under the alignment section, you should see merge and center. Go ahead and click that, and then boom, there's our title. Okay. Now let's go back and let's make our font bigger. And I'm going to change our font to something else. I think that'll do well. And then make it bold. And I might change the color. See, to like a dark. Let's see, a dark blue. I think that would be good. Okay, so we're actually going to skip the second row. Let's go on to A3 and let's type in candy. And I actually want that to be bold, so I'm going to click that and click bold. And the next one is Twix, Snickers, and Milky Way. And then days total. Okay. Saving's kind of force of habit because we are in a version that does do autosave. I'm actually going to drag this out a little bit because I think the L's just on the line there. Okay, so for candy, Monday through Sunday is H. So let's go and type Monday. Get our fill handle, which is the skinny black cross. If I hover over the little dots there, left click, hold, drag to the right. And we're going to go all the way to Sunday, then let it go, and it automatically fills it in. Now I'm going to go ahead and move the D3 over because I know Wednesday doesn't fit there. And in my last little part here, I'm actually going to type in total. Okay. Now, when we look at the Twix row, what do we notice? They're all threes, aren't they? Okay, so we can use the fill handle, do 3, get right on the fill handle, left click, hold, and drag to the right, and then all the way to Sunday and let go, and then boom, it's all threes. All right, let's do 9. So B5, do 9, and then do our fill handle to drag them all the way to Sunday and let go. Now the third row, is it all the same? No, it is not. But I'm going to give you a little easy way to control after you put in numbers or information. Instead of hitting enter, which always puts you just down to the next cell below it, if I actually type in, hit the arrow key going to the right, that's just like me hitting enter, and then it's going to put me on the right side. So it makes data entry very quick. So if I hit 2, right, 5, right, 3, right arrow, and Thursday is 6, right arrow 2, right arrow 6, right arrow 7. So it makes it very quick and easy to put data entry in if you just use the arrow keys after you've typed. Okay. Now let's kind of get our days total to work. So I'm going to get underneath here and I'm going to go up and click the sum, the silly sum button. And where is it on here? Because it's kind of squished everything. So give me a minute, I got to find it. Okay, it's under editing for some reason. Okay. But you should be able to just see it, because remember mine's squished, so it's squishing our menu as well. So Autosum, boom, it comes up, it says, okay, you want me to add B4 through 6, 8, B8, yep, so I hit enter, and then boom, we have our number. Let's do C7 equals sum C4 through C6. Yep, that looks right. All right. Let's do Autosum D4 through 6 D6. Yep. All right. E7 E4 through E6. Yep. All right, and Friday, F4 through F6. And G7. G4 through G6, yes. All right, Sunday is H4 through H6. We got 19. Okay, now that's worked great vertically, and we got the same matching numbers as we did up there. But let's click here. All right, that lined up properly, B4 through H4. All right, B5 through H5. That number looks right. Now, I'll tell you this, we're getting tricky here because soon it may decide that it's the vertical that needs to be added and not the horizontal, or the column and not the row that needs to be added together, okay? So, I'm going to show you how to do that if it's not doing it properly. I've had it where we've had a whole class full of folks, and then we actually come up and they're a little bit different here when it's trying to add it together at the end, okay? That's not what I want, is it? Nope. So I hit escape. Now how do I make that do something without me having to, calculate everything? Well, all I got to do is I got to select that row, and then I select an empty cell, okay? So you select the row of the numbers you want it to add together. And then you select one that's blank. So then when I hit the Autosum, it'll automatically do it. So it's 31. Now, I want it to actually Autosum this way. Yep, looks right. And then we come up with 115. Okay. Now, a lot of folks actually call Excel a visual calculator. Okay. And one reason why it's such a great visual calculator is because you can actually go back, and once you get these formulas set up, you can go back and make changes or make your own template as well. So the simple budget one that I made earlier, you could just erase the original numbers, and because the code was already there and not erase the code, then all you got to do is put in different numbers and then it will update it. Now, let me show you what I mean. So let's say I go, okay, well, great. I sold 115 candy bars last week, and oh no, my calculations were wrong. I actually sold, let's say, on Monday, I didn't sell 3 Twix. I actually sold 5. So I'm going to go and make a change it to 5, and when I hit enter, watch, it'll finish the calculations all the way through. Boom. And it's like magic, isn't it? So this calculation, this calculation, and this calculation all recalculated and came up with the 17. Oh no, you know what happened? I looked through the box. I did still have 2 left in the box. I thought that I had sold all of them. So now I have to go back and change. So let me click Monday, change it back to 3, hit enter, and then boom, it all goes back to the way it was. So if you are doing, just typing in the math, that's great, but then you can't really use it as a template because that math may change each time you're doing a budget or whatever. It's better to tell it to do the math based on the cell instead of just what the number is, okay? All right, now let's go ahead down to our next area. So in in B10, let's say purchase price. And I'm just going to be lazy. I'm going to let it be that way, but I'm also going to bold the text as well. It bleeding over into the next section doesn't bother me today. So sold price and F10 profit. so A11 needs to say Twix. A12 needs to say Snickers. Usually someone in class will say, "This is making me hungry," talking about candy bars. Me too. Milky Way. Alright, so we do know our purchase price and we do know our sold price, but we don't know our profit. So I'm going to go ahead and left click. Now I could do it individually, okay, but I basically want this whole area to be dollars, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click hold by grabbing the middle and select the whole area, and then go up here and click on the dollar sign. And now that means that they are all dollars. So if I type in anything, so let's start off with B11 and it's 20 cents. So if I do 0.20, hit enter, boom, it'll say 20 cents. Now watch this. I actually don't have to put in that 0. If I do 0.6, hit enter, if I've told it to do money already, boom, it knows it's 60 cents. Okay? So if I do 0.3, hit enter, boom, it knows it's 30 cents. Now do remember you can move the cell selection around with your mouse, but you can also use arrow keys on your keyboard too if that's quicker. So 0.75, enter. Now the next one's $1. So guess what? I don't have to type in a point. I just do .1. I do number 1, and because that's already selected as money, I hit enter. Boom, it means it's $1. So 0.8. Boom, there you go. 80 cents. Now let's talk about doing our math. Now remember, we can't have a smaller number. We can't subtract a larger number from a smaller number. That won't work out. Okay. We always have to subtract a smaller number from a larger number. So what do we need? Well, let's click on our cell F11. So we need F11 to be equals, open parentheses, D11, and you'll see it'll color coordinate it too, minus B11, okay, close parentheses, times I4. So let's look at what we have. So what we want in the profits is we want the sold price is 75 cents. We want to subtract 20 cents from that. And then we want that answer, we want to multiply times the whole number, Twix, under the I4. So that'll be 21. So which we'll do 75 cents minus 20 cents multiplied by 21. And that's your answer about how much profit I made that week. Okay. All right, let's do the next one. Now I actually have the answers here on the sheet for you for the first one here, but we'll actually have to figure out what the next one is. Okay, so I'm on F12. I got to do equals, open parentheses, and now I'm not going to be doing D11. I need to do the next row, don't I? And so D12. So D12 minus B12, okay, close parentheses, times what? I5, and hit enter. Boom. Did you get it? All right, so let's do the next one. So equals, open parentheses, D13 minus B13, close parentheses, multiplied by I6. Okay? Isn't that great how it color coordinates it? So don't just rush through this while you're doing it. Look at each individual thing as it's showing you. It'll help it later. Boom. Now let's talk about our visual calculator since we finished our big project here. I could get it to sum them together. So let's do that. Where is it on here? It is. Yep. So my total profits for the week, and I could write the word total. It helps if you do spell total right. So $52.25, okay? Total for the week. Profit. Now, we have many formulas going on, don't we? We do. We have many formulas. So again, if I look back and I went, you know what? I thought I didn't sell those 3 Twix bars, but I actually did. I looked again. I did sell 3 extra Twix bars on Monday. So I think I'll change that. So I'll go up here. 3 extra will be 6. Now watch the magic. Boom. It calculates it all the way through for me. Calculates it here. Calculates it here. Then calculates it there. And then calculates it here at the very end. Okay. But then if I go, oh no, I was wrong again. It really was 3. I hit 3, change it back, and then everything's right where it was before. Okay. So that's kind of the magic of using Excel. Is it's a visual calculator. You can make changes to things very quickly, and if you spend time to do the calculations and have your formulas set up, then you're good to go. Now, if I wanted to use this again, I could go down here and right click and make a copy, okay, and then I'll have another sheet that says copy. And then if I wanted to, the next week, I could actually highlight or select this all this where numbers are, not where equations are, and hit delete. And then boom, I have a template. Okay. Now if the prices of the products change, I can do all that. And then all I have to do here is just put in the numbers. So if I actually put in different numbers, instead of 3s, let's do 4s. And this week we did 8s, excuse me. And then this week we just kind of did random numbers, okay? Don't think I sold 89. Okay, so look, all I had to do is I made the equations once, and then I can use it as a template, make copies, and then change it to anything I want, just by erasing or changing the main numbers part, okay? But all those equations are still there, even though they may say 0 on them, okay? The cool part about it is it helps me to know that it's right, okay? Now, let's talk about the little bit of extra thing I said I was going to talk about, and then we'll talk about printing. So give me 1 second. I got to pull that up. Okay, so let's see if I can get this. Do that. There we go. Okay, so this is actually from the Microsoft website. I'll move a few things around here. We'll kind of do it together. So this is kind of a new thing. And it did not copy my little picture, which is a shame. There it is. Oh. No, don't do everything. Why are you doing everything? All right, give me a second here. There we go. Okay, so this is something new I learned the other day. So I'm going to share with you. So how can I do basically a drop-down list? So if I go back, I have my Excel. So let's say that each week I have some candy bars, and instead of me having to keep typing in where it says Twix, Snickers, and the rest of them, I actually want it to have it so it automatically gives me a nice little drop-down list. Okay. So I don't have to keep typing these things in. Now, this could be numbers that you're using a lot. Okay. Do realize that. It could just be something that you keep having to import constantly. So let's go ahead and we'll do it together. So let's do it here on the A16. So under A16, I select the cell, and I go to where it's the data tab. Let me change that. I click the data tab on the top. I have my cells selected, and in Windows it's called data validation. Okay, data validation. Well, that would be 3 actually. I always want better instructions. We always do, don't we? Okay, so it's right here. It says data validation. I click data validation. I go over here and you see where it says allow any value. We actually want to change that to where it says list. Okay. Settings, allow, list. Hang on. There you go. So change allow to list. Okay. And then what we want to do, I'm actually going to copy this so I don't have to type it. It will come up with copy. Okay. I click the data validation. I change any value to list. And this where it says source, all I have to do is type in what I want to be broken up with my drop down list with commas. Okay, so each week I have to put in we're just using this as an example. If I use a template, I wouldn't have to do that, but maybe things change and I have a cell that I have to put, a different thing constantly. So I make a list. I make Twix, comma, Snickers, comma, Milky Way, comma, new candy bar. Okay, and you hit OK, and now this little thing will pop up. So when I click that cell, this little down arrow pop up. I click the down arrow and it actually shows me Twix, Snickers, Milky Way. Now make sure you don't put a comma, don't put a space between the comma because it won't be there. And all I got to do is check. Okay, and it allows me to change it very quickly and easily. Okay. Now if I want that to be on other cells as well, I think I can't just copy paste it. Let me see. Yeah, I can just copy paste it. Copy paste that cell and it'll actually still have the drop down set up. Okay. So if I did copy and I selected a bunch of here and then I hit paste, boom. All these now have proper drop down, and when I click on them, I can choose a different thing on the drop down, see. Okay, so that's kind of a new thing that I've learned that I'm very excited about sharing because I think it's really neat. And this could be numbers or it could just be a list like this. So and if I make my own template, then there you go. I'm not having to retype anything. I'm just clicking and boom, boom, boom. There you go right there. So let's go back. Let's talk about printing and then we'll finish up. We'll talk about printing. So let's talk about printing. So a big one, for me at least, is anytime I try to print any of this, it actually will not give it lines automatically. Okay. So if we go back to this and we go up to File and we hit Print, you'll actually see it doesn't have any lines on it now, does it? Okay. Now there's ways that you could go in, make a table, be fancy with it. If you wanted to, you can do styles. You could choose to highlight everything and go up to, where is it on here? Where's my styles? Anyway, it is on here. I don't really use it that much. But they have really nice styles that you can choose. Well, maybe I need to learn where that is. Let's see. They've gotten rid of it in this version. Not really what I want. Looks like I'll have to look something up too. Where are the styles? Maybe I'm in the wrong part. Another big thing they have is you can draw now and on the page and it'll keep it. Here you can add a background if you want to. Let's see. Here's your print area. Talking about that. Oh, there it is, themes. So you can do some pre-made themes if you wanted to. Let's see. Not really what I was interested in. Anyway, I'll go ahead and back and talk about just printing. So if I click print here, what you have to do is you have to go down here to do page setup. Now this is also where you choose if you want it to be landscape or portrait. Okay. If I go to page setup, I go to the tab that says sheets, and then you click where it says grid lines. And after you click grid lines, boom, there's your lines, they're back. Now there's more complicated ways of doing that. Like I was just talking to you about, you can set up a theme. They even had a place where you can say show visible parts. But the easiest thing to do is just to click that. You just want some quick lines on something. That'll actually take care of it. But it's not there by default, okay? So there you go. You have to go in there and do it that way. Okay. There's the scaling and fit to sheet and everything. The only negative thing about that is it might make your text on your Excel too small. So if you had to, I would probably go in there and then change your text. Maybe even do use a little little bit of a short terms for things, but you do want to make sure that your audience does understand what that means. Okay. Let's look at a little bit of a extra learning video help that we can look at. So basically this is support.microsoft.com. They have lots of different training on here. There's training about Excel. Most of the time it actually has a little bit of videos. Exploring Excel, creating a household budget, getting to know Excel, and also this is where you can type in if you are having some questions, and they do have message boards on here that Microsoft answers themselves. Okay, so a lot of great information, troubleshooting on here. Like I said, a lot of great little videos to kind of help out as well. Okay, so let's go back. Let's talk about our templates. And so we do File, we do New, and then it shows a few templates here, a few that are installed on, that comes with Excel. Okay, these are all free from Microsoft, so they don't cost anything. Here's one that's a personal budget. Here's an illustrated calendar. Here's one that has a monthly budget, and it automatically does the well, you know, the bar graphs. There you go. My brain kept saying columns for some reason. Household budget chart, blue balance sheets. The only negative thing about these are, do you realize these were designed by somebody else? So if I just click the one, let's say personal budget, open that, it will give some explanation about how to use it. But as you see, it's kind of complicated. Okay, and again, this is kind of something they're pulling off just by changing the background color. Okay, so if I went in and changed the background color to something else, it'll look fancy too. So that's just them spending a little bit of extra time, you know, doing something like that. So do realize you can do this as well. Now the negative part about this is you'll actually see that it may have its own formulas. There may be things in here that you're not using. So I actually recommend you creating your own. Basically kind of what we did today. Just put the money in there, how much money's coming in, and then have different categories of what's coming out. And it may make a lot more sense to you, and of course it'll already be customized and everything. So I do recommend you try to start your own little budget, then try to download one of these that looks all fancy and stuff, because it could be more than what you kind of bargained for. Now, oh look, it's new. How to create drop-down lists. There you go, right there. So Microsoft thinks everybody should learn that new skill, just like I think you should learn that new skill. So that's neat too. Now the templates, we could type in budget, and then we'll get a whole cornucopia list of them. Whole bunch of different ones on here. Family budget, simple budget, but they will not be as simple as the budget I showed you earlier. There you go, right there. There's a weekly timesheet. Back to school planner. Here's like a grocery list. Party planner. There you go, holiday gift ideas. Now, the big thing about if you do have the ability to have Office 365, this means that you could work on something like this, save it, and if a team member also has that, like if you work for a business or a school, nonprofit organization, you could then share that to the cloud, and then everybody could edit it and make changes. So that's kind of the big thing that we're going for, is for teams to be able to share files virtually online and stuff. It's real easy to do it if you have the Office 365 or if you're using the Google suite of products too. Okay, so that's mainly it. I'll go ahead and save this, and I'll start talking about some of the other things that we have coming up for the rest of the month. And unless there's any other questions, we'll kind of wrap class up for the day. Like I said, the handout is, oh shoot, did I not do that? I'll go ahead and I'll post the handout. I thought I did that. Maybe I just talked about it. That could be possible. No, there it is right there. I did post that in there. Okay, so that's funny. All right, so that kind of does it for our class for today. Oh, might need to turn my light on. There we go. There I am. So that kind of wraps up our class for the day. In case anybody has any other questions or anything, we did our Excel class. So Tuesday we did Word. Okay. We did our Raspberry Pi project this morning. We did half of it. Today we'll finish the other half tomorrow. Tomorrow is our PowerPoint class. Hold on one second. Let me see. There we go. Let's see if that works. There we go. All right. So tomorrow we're going to be finishing up our Raspberry Pi project, our GPIO pen musical box that we have going on over here. And then tomorrow afternoon we'll be doing PowerPoint 2019 basics. So come and join me for that. It'll be fun. I really like PowerPoint. It's a lot of fun things to do with different projects and stuff. Here's kind of our list for the rest of the whole month. Coming up, do realize we'll be off a week, which will be next week, and then we'll be back on the 22nd doing photography fundamentals and cloud backup. And again, definitely come join me for the photo editing and new layers class. We're just going to be adding layers to that class, which will be fun. And the virtual scrapbooking now will be in photography and printing and virtual scrapbooking. We'll do a creating videos and editing basics. We're going to talk about using the Windows photo app with that. and of course other programs we have going on this month. Gadget help on the 23rd, 11 a.m. Cord cutting the 30th, 11 a.m. and chess at 11 a.m. on the 24th as well. Just a reminder, our libraries are open with limited services and hours. Curbside holds pickup is available. It's a wonderful program. Make sure you thank the librarians for doing that. For more information, you can go to gchrl.org for details, or you can call the library for more questions Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We kind of have a goal of trying to get our own YouTube address for our YouTube channel. We actually have to have 100 subscribers to be able to do that. So make sure that you hit subscribe and of course like our videos too. And it has a really long name, but the easiest way to find our YouTube channel, because you're on it right now, is basically search YouTube for GCHRL videos and it'll pull right up. Okay. So that kind of does it for me for this class. Thank you for coming. And have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Stay safe. And the weather is going to get a little cool, so make sure you get outside and get your exercise and all that kind of good stuff. So stay safe while we're staying virtual and everything, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.